I think this will work.
Okay, I'm going for it. I can't see it here, but let's go for it. Good morning.
Yes.
Welcome to Canada Reads American Style, our YouTube channel. I'm Tara, originally from Newfoundland and now currently living in Ontario, Canada. Hello, Rebecca from Michigan.
Yes, I born and raised in Michigan, lived in California for 30 years, came back to Michigan, so I'm here now. And the reason we're a little wonky here at the beginning is, of course, I made some changes to the account. So I wasn't 100% sure it was going to work, but it looks like it's working.
Yeah, so we didn't quite have the smooth intro that we
That we're known for, that we're
no,
known for.
we're known for. We were trying for 2 months in a row of smooth entrance. It didn't work. So anyways, back to our let's smooth on in. And like that. This is our monthly reading from our shelves segment, in which we highlight the books that we are reading from our shelves as we aim to whittle down our physical TBR. At the same time, we also, me, might be sharing books that we've added to our shelves to counterbalance. So, Rebecca,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
right?
same here this month. I have quite a few that yeah, because we made a trip, which I'll talk about in a minute here. But I'm going to
Yeah.
start with what I'm currently reading.
Yes.
And as we all know, Canada Reads, the competition is heating up. It starts March. What's the date? The 17th, I think, right?
I think I think it's 17th.
Yeah, 17th of March.
17th. Yeah.
Canada Reads competition starts. So I am currently reading Otto, no, Etta and Otto. What does that say? I can't even, oh yeah, and Russell and James. Yeah, I forget all their names. And personally, I'm loving this book. I had predicted that a different book would win, but I want this book to win so far. I'm about 80 pages from the end. I'm loving it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking
yeah.
forward to reading that one.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I just want to mention, let me just do this really quick, just because I haven't read them yet, but I want to show that I do have them.
Yep.
So the next one I'll be reading is Watch Out for Her, which is another Canada Reads book. See, I have my little label here that shows me when they're due back to the library.
Good
So
idea.
even though I don't own them, they're on my shelf physically. So,
Mhm.
and then here is A Two-Spirit Journey. I can't really show you the cover because they cover it up.
Oh,
So I know the library, when they come from the state of Michigan, they they come from libraries from all over. So this is actually coming from the Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Library in Saginaw, Michigan, which is cool. And the other one, I don't know, that was yeah, local to my library system. And this one is coming from, let's see, where is this? I don't know. I've never heard of this library. But anyway, then I also have Jennie's Boy, which is it.
ah,
So I've read Dandelion, and this is the rest of Canada Reads for this year.
wow. I've
Yeah,
read zero of the short list, but it'll happen. It'll happen. I'll not worry
absolutely.
about it. I'm currently, well, not currently, because I just finished it this morning. This is At a Loss for Words by Carol Off. Conversation in an Age of Rage. It's a fantastic, yeah,
A lot of rage.
it's a fantastic book, but I'm going to, with the caveat that I at times was like, you're angry, frustrated, the whole depressed, like the last chapter. So the whole premise of it is she's taken 6 words. Let's see, so I don't forget them. I think they were freedom, democracy, truth, woke, choice, and taxes. She explains the original definition of each word, how it was originally used and or intended to use, and then how the far right has co-opted the word to work for them, to create chaos, essentially.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's fan-flipping-tastic. The
Have
last
you?
chapter that I read this morning was taxes.
I was just going to ask. So, have you finished the book, or you're still
Yes.
almost done? Because I want
Yeah.
to know about the taxes. Does it say that the how ridiculous it is that we keep taxing those of us with the least of it and not taxing the ones with the most of it? Good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's essentially it was uh I found that chapter especially difficult just to hear because she went back to like 3-4 decades ago, and how, starting with one particular family in the US,
I know which one
how
it
they
is.
essentially, well, one, don't pay taxes, but also work around it in such a way that they can, and we're seeing it now, obviously, have put so much money into the far right conservative politicians, but done it in such a way that there's no accountability.
Yeah.
They don't have to, and swung it so that their agenda is on the table, exactly as what has transpired in the last 3 weeks.
So in Canada, do you have the same issue where like the wealthy don't get taxed or corporations don't get taxed and then you all get taxed more?
But not, I don't think to the same extent. So yes, they tend to like go off. There are loopholes, but not as many loopholes as there
Yeah.
are in the US for them to get through. But there are still loopholes. Yes.
So let me ask you then, would you recommend this book to Americans to read right now? Or
Oh
do you
yeah.
think we would? Oh, okay. I didn't know if I
Yeah.
can't read it. My head will blow off. Like I would
Yeah.
just explode.
Oh
So
yeah. No, I don't think I would recommend it to you. But I would recommend it because she's Canadian. She's a Canadian journalist. So most of the book is, hey, this is what's happening in the US. This is what has happened. This is what is currently happening. And this is how the same thing is trickling down to Canada, kind of thing. So
yeah.
yeah, it's fantastic. It's amazing. But be prepared to be thoroughly annoyed by a lot of what you read,
Yeah.
but in a good
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, when we saw her at Eden Mills, I right away I thought, God, that sounds like a great book. But it was in September of
Mm-hmm.
last year, and I thought, I can't, there's no way I can read this now with the election coming. And now since the election, I'm like, yeah, I don't think I can read this one. Yeah,
No,
right
no,
now.
no. But
Oh well.
okay, what's your first reading from the shelf, Rebecca?
So you and I met up recently in Sarnia, Ontario, at the Bookkeeper bookstore, which is my favorite independent bookstore because it's about an hour and 15 minutes from my house, and it's across the border, and I get to cross the big, beautiful Blue Water Bridge, which
Hmm.
still scares me, but that's okay. It's all good. And I just want to mention the reason I wanted to meet up was because I did not want to wait till June when this book publishes in the US. I had to have The Knowing by Tanya Talaga. And I haven't read it yet. So all the books I'm bringing today, I haven't read, but these are books I've added to my shelf that I'm really excited. And so I'm definitely going to read The Knowing before June to make it perfectly worthwhile that I took spent all that money to go across the border and
Yeah.
everything. And you've read it and you highly recommend it, right?
Yep. She's amazing. I can't wait. I'm still looking forward to seeing the American cover because I love our
Yeah.
Canadian cover. So I'm really interested to see what the American cover for the book is going to be.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that because that was the other reason I wanted to get this copy. It's Kent Monkman's artwork on the front, and I wanted that edition. And I am as well curious to see
Mhm.
what the American edition looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, my first. So I'm going to start off with the books that I read from my shelf right here. So they no longer will be on this shelf. First
Yay.
one, yay, is Reuniting with Strangers by Jennie Austria Bonifacio. Uh, okay, I really love this book. It is about essentially Philippine caregivers, what happens when they have to leave their country and they come to Canada. They leave their family behind in the Philippines to come to Canada to be caregivers for our families here and how that affects their relationships. It's beautiful. What I find interesting about this book is that it says right here, Reuniting with Strangers, a novel. It's, and then on the back, an unforgettable novel told in linked stories.
Oh,
Right? So this is a collection of short stories that they are marketing as a novel because I don't think people read short stories preferentially over a novel. It works because they are linked and there's this one character who bookends it beginning and end and he appears throughout, but it's short stories. It's fantastic. And also I will say that I was lucky enough to see the author, I think last year at our local library for an event. She
Nice.
is so charming, and I've never seen an author event like this because she was so well organized. She had a slideshow and she was like on it. She knew what she wanted to say because I think she's worked in this field herself with the children and stuff. And so she knew what she wanted to say. She is charming. She is funny. She came with a cake for everyone, for all the attendings to like have, because she said no Filipino goes to an event without a cake. And then at the end, she had her husband take a group picture of all of us. Now, only if you wanted to, like to jump in and take a group picture, because she's like, we also always end an event with like a group picture. So, like, I've never been there. She was charming. If you get a chance, go see her. She was wonderful.
Kind of like a it's kind of like a K-pop concert because at the end they always do a selfie where they turn and face, have their back to the audience and then they take a selfie. And it's
Yeah.
so maybe that's kind of a little bit like an Asian thing or something where,
Yeah.
they celebrate that way. I think that's actually
Yeah.
very, very
It was
cool.
really, it made it in, it was just completely different from any other author event I've been to. And in addition to that, her presentation was also fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyways, highly recommend. Fantastic book.
Yeah. I want to read that because wasn't that one on the Canada Reads long list or something?
I think last year, right?
I think
Was
so.
it
Yeah,
last
I
year?
wanted to read that one.
Yeah.
And I love how I think the publisher thinks short stories won't sell, or maybe they've had short story
Yeah.
collections that didn't sell. And so they're kind of like playing with it a little bit,
I
right?
think so too. Yeah.
But I loved link stories. If they called it link stories, I'd be all over that
I
immediately.
know.
So,
I know.
okay. So my next book, again, that I got while I was, this was the other book. There were two books I really wanted when I went to Sarnia last week. So this was the other one. Ian
Mhm.
Kennedy, Ice in Their Veins, Women's Relentless Pursuit of the Puck. And we interviewed Ian when he wrote his book On Account of Darkness, which was about Black Canadians, well, actually, people of color who were playing baseball in Ontario during a certain period of time, which was absolutely
Yeah.
fascinating. I'm not a baseball fan at all, and it was other sports as well, but primarily baseball, I think, right?
Yeah.
I think so. And it was a fabulous book. I cannot, if you love nonfiction, if you loved history, and he's a reporter. So he was a sports reporter, or still is, I believe, and he's a really wonderful writer. Does his research, compelling story. And when he came out with this one, I was really excited because I know nothing about girls or women in hockey. And I really wanted to read this. And I reached out to him right away and said, "Hey, after I've read it, will you come and chat with us again?" And he said yes. So I look forward to, so I want to read this one fairly soon. And I do want to chat with him about it because I know he's a really interesting speaker as well. So we have something to look forward to there.
Awesome. Beautiful cover too.
Yeah.
Okay. My next one is I'm gonna have difficulty explaining this one, so I'm gonna keep it pretty basic because when it comes to nonfiction, something that's so full of facts, I I absorb it all and I love it and I cannot regurgitate it. So, uh, Grandfather of the Treaties, Finding Our Future Through the Wampum Covenant by Daniel Coleman. So this, I was given an advanced reading copy by the publisher, so Woolsack and Wynne. It's a local publisher here in Hamilton. Um, Daniel Coleman is a professor at nearby McMaster University, and he just does a deep dive into the history of treaties, but especially the Wampum Treaty that essentially laid the foundations for Canada's constitution at the moment, present day constitution. It's fantastic. It's filled, yes, it's filled with history and a lot of details, but he writes it very well. I did a slow read. I didn't try to power through it, just a little chunk at a time. And yeah, very good. And also he brings personal stories too that kind of lighten it a little bit at the right moments. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one and I learned a lot. I learned a lot.
It's funny because I've seen that one from a few people recently online, not just you. So I don't know do you know when it was published?
Oh, I feel like late 2024.
Okay, because it's interesting. I've seen it recently, so that was kind of
Oh yeah,
interesting to see
beginning of
others.
December 2024.
Yeah. Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah. My next book, again, got this at the bookkeeper. One of my all-time favorite books. I always, you know how I always just sort of have this in my head, like in my top 10 books of all time. And there are certain books that will always live in that my mind about my top 10. But
Mhm.
Frankenstein, I love Frankenstein. I love the monster so much. Like he's one of my all-time favorite literary characters. I love him so much. Have you ever read it?
I don't think so, actually. I might have, but I'm so doubting it. Like, if I have, I'm going to say no. Let's just put a no, and I should read it again.
I love it. Anyway, so this said it's the 1818 text, and I have no idea when I read it if it was the 1818 text. I have
Wow.
no idea. So I thought, okay, well, I'll reread it because I've for so many years, because I read this like I think I read it in the 80s. Yeah, it was in the 80s, I think. And I've just never forgotten the monster and how much I love him. And I just anyway, he's such a sad character,
Hmm.
but so beautiful. Anyway, I'm excited to read the 1818 text to see if the book holds up for me, which I know it will.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that it will. So,
Yeah. Okay. I have a mystery next. Sunset Lake Resort by Joanne Jackson. So this is from Stonehouse Publishing. I received it through Holly of River Street Writing. It was one of her recommendations. I like a mystery, and I really loved this one. So this one, so the main character is Ruby, and she's middle-aged. Uh, her father passes away, and she had expected her father was very rich. And her husband had expected that when he finally passed away, they would have a huge inheritance.
uh-huh.
Well, that did not happen, and he left most of his money to his much younger second wife. At which point, Ruby's husband then leaves her. I know, he's such an ass. He then leaves her. But what her father did leave her was a piece of land with a that is no longer, it has cottages on it, and it used to be a resort, Sunset Lake Resort. So Ruby, who has never been by herself, so she's middle-aged, she lived with her father up until she got married and then moved right in with her husband, had, I think, 3 children. She has 3 adult children. She's never been by herself. And now her husband has left her because she didn't have the money that he expected her to have. So and this is what I love a middle-aged protagonist, female.
Yeah.
And I love this. She moves to that resort in which the cottage is barely, she can't live in it. There's the second story's not finished. It's in a mess. There's no bathroom, but she moves in anyways and hires a contractor to rebuild it and live by the lake. Now, there's also a mystery because the previous owner, who was a woman who lived there by herself and built and ran this resort, was killed. Well, she was found dead one day, and they were like,
Ooh.
they assumed she fell off the second floor while she was doing construction on the cottage, on her main cottage. But there's also that she may have been murdered. So there's a mystery about what happened to the original owner. And I loved the mystery, but I loved Ruby more. Like I loved Ruby and what she did more.
So here's my question for you. Do you think, because it sounds like, and I don't mean this in a, a critical way or a judgmental way, but could this be like literary mystery kind of? Because I love this story of this older woman who's going to, be on her own for the first time. I just feel like
Yeah.
there because I'll be honest with you, when you started to tell me the story, I kind of forgot it was a mystery. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking like, wow, what a really fascinating story. And then you threw in the piece about the mystery.
Yeah.
So I was just curious.
I don't know. I always find the like a literary mystery um heading like really bizarre. Like, like it like mystery versus literary mystery. If they're all really well written, aren't they?
Right,
You know what
right.
I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So
Well, in other words,
I,
what I'm asking is it more a focus on her being on her own for the first time, living her life and trying to navigate her post-divorce
yeah,
life, post-children's life, really, because they're adults?
yeah.
Or is it more a mystery? Or is it like half and half? Or how do you feel about it that
No,
way?
it is more about Ruby and her navigating this point in her
Mhm.
life. And there's an element of found family because she moves to where there is a little town, but it's like a tiny little town.
Yeah,
Um, the mystery is, I don't want to spoil anything. It's built into her finding herself as well,
yeah.
in a way, and uh, her family history
Yeah.
also. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All
So
right. I'm just
it's
curious.
yeah. So I'm going to say very well written. I don't know whether I call it a literary or not because I always struggle with that term literary mystery as well, you know. I
Yeah.
know what you mean. So
Well,
yeah.
here's the other reason I'm asking is because we've heard from a few people the book that's in the mystery that's in the or thriller that's in the Canada Reads this year. I just wondered it'll be interesting to see if that one because we've had some people not be as enamored of it
Yep.
of that thriller, and so I'm curious about when you've read both of them if you think this book might have been a good choice for Canada Reads. Do you see what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah. I think I can
Because
tell you that right now. I think it would have been
oh,
a great choice because there
oh,
are lots of yeah, there are
yeah,
lots of like that you could really dive into because it's not like I when I think thriller, I think very plot heavy, right? Like just like
yeah,
boom, 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 and not a lot of character development and
yeah,
stuff. So hopefully the thriller for Canada Read surprises us. But you know.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
would never call this a thriller, but yeah,
Right. Yeah, and mystery thriller. I was just kind of saying it like in that
yeah,
way, but yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Because
No, I
this one
think this
I
would have been a great choice for Canada Reads.
yeah, because I think this one sounds really fascinating. Not just because I like the development of that character and how she's on her own and having to
Yes.
navigate a tough situation. Like just that story alone I love. And then
Oh,
I
I
like
know.
the
Me
mystery
too.
thrown in. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Cool.
It was a great blend. It was a very, she does, this is the first book I've read by this author. I know she's got another, at least one or two that I think she won an award for. She's from Saskatchewan, I
Okay.
believe. But I know her previous book won an award as well. So,
Yeah. Cool.
yeah.
My next book is one that when I saw it at the bookstore, I thought, what is that? I had to pick it up. It's so beautiful. The cover is so beautiful. And then it turns out I looked it up on my phone and it was on my TBR. So I just had no, at some point I put this on my TBR. I had no memory of it. I don't know what year. I mean, it had to have been published recently. Let me look really quick here. 2023. So somehow I came across it. But it's The Eyes and the Impossible. And if you look, it's a 3D cover. It's so
Yeah,
beautiful. Like
that
the
is
cover
beautiful.
alone. So yes, I paid lot more money for it if it had been in paperback, but I don't care.
That's a
So
shelf
it's a
worthy book. That's a shelf worthy book.
absolutely. It's so beautiful. Yeah. And so it says Johannes is a free dog in a sprawling public park by the sea. As the eyes, he is charged with seeing all, reporting all, and preserving the park's delicate equilibrium for its many animal inhabitants. But with new human encroachments and dazzling human creations, the balance of the park and of Johannes's perception of the world soon changes irrevocably. And it is a children's book. But I'm a former youth librarian. I still read books for all ages, picture books, everything. And I just thought, God, this cover's so beautiful. And it just happened to be on my TBR anyway. I love a dog story. So
Yeah. I remember when you found that in the bookstore. I remember like it was years ago. It was 2 weeks ago.
yeah,
But you were finished, you had made your purchases.
yeah.
And I think I was still looking and getting ready to head to the cash desk. And then you came up and you're like, look what I found. And then you ran off to the cash.
And I just want to say that no problem with this at all, but you were taking a rather longer time to
Yeah.
browse. I knew right when I went in, like I wanted certain things. I actually went back. I bought stuff 3 times because I was waiting on you, but it's okay because hey, it's a bookstore. Why would you not
I
want
know.
to? just keep buying more books.
I know. And you're welcome, bookkeeper, because by me taking a long time, you got more money out of Rebecca.
Exactly, 100%.
I had no plan going in. So I just like to roam the store. And I think I roam once and then I go back again. It is super annoying. I know my oldest does the same
Oh,
thing in a bookstore.
no,
It's annoying.
it's not annoying. It's just funny because it's a different style, right? Because I
Mhm.
knew that I wanted the knowing and ice intervenes, like those two I knew I wanted. And in fact, it's funny, our good friend Anne, who works there, I had contacted her in advance and said, "Hey, can you make sure these books are on the shelf or that I have them available to me when I get there because I'm making a special trip." And so I just walked in and they had the books waiting for me behind the counter. So then I'm like, I'm done. But then, you
I
still had to do your
wasn't.
thing. You had to do your thing. So I agree. I spent more money because of it, and it's all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Okay. This is no surprise. It's another Helen Humphreys book. I read my first Helen Humphreys book of the year. So it is The Reinvention of Love. It's older. I think I can't remember off the top of my head, but like 99, I think. So it's an older book. It is historical fiction. The story of Victor Hugo, his wife, I can't remember, Adele. Yep. And Charles, and I can't remember his last name. And Charles is a French, they're living in Paris. Charles is the French literary critic who puts Victor Hugo's work in a spotlight, who really gets him his first thing. And then Victor and Hugo become very, very good friends. And Victor and Hugo, no, sorry, Victor and Charles.
Yeah.
Victor Hugo and Charles become very good friends. Charles also falls in love with Victor's wife. So the novel becomes a question of, it's about love, it's about friendship versus love, which has the more value. It's really good. It's really good. And there's a queer element in there, which I'm not going to tell because it's kind of supposed to be like a reveal moment for you. But it's
Ooh,
Helen Humphreys. It's excellent.
yeah. Yeah. That's excellent. Well, also when I went to the meetup with Tara, she gave me a book for Christmas, my Christmas gift.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it is The Golden Spruce, a true story of myth, madness, and greed. And I told her, this is, and she even agreed, this is a Rebecca book,
Yeah.
100%. I'm so excited to read this. I will just say, it says it's an environmental true crime story of a natural wonder, the man who destroyed it, and the fascinating, troubling context in which the act took place. And apparently in 1997, a British Columbia timber surveyor named Grant Hadwin committed an act of shocking violence in the mythic Queen Charlotte Islands. His victim was legendary, a unique 300-year-old Sitka spruce tree, 50 meters tall and covered with luminous golden needles. So I know it's going to break my heart, but I
So
totally know
good.
this is going to be, I know I'm going to love this book. I
You are going to
know.
love it. I can't believe you haven't read it. So,
I know. And let me see what year it came out because it's probably, oh my gosh. Let's see here. Is this really older? That's
yeah,
wild.
yeah,
Oh my
much
God. See,
older.
yeah, it says copyright 2005. I just
Much
never
older.
read it.
Yeah. And I
So,
think you're going to want to, he has another one, the about a Siberian, like a tiger hunt in Russia that you are also
oh,
going to want to, it's a man-eating tiger and they're on the hunt for him. It's also nonfiction.
yeah, but,
No, you, because I can't read books where bad things happen to animals either,
oh,
but
okay.
no,
Okay.
it's a good one. No.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I
yeah,
mean, I
it's
can't
so
guarantee,
funny.
but
It's so funny that I don't even know that I've heard of this book, but it was also, it's 20 years ago now, right? So, yeah, I just don't remember ever hearing about it, but
it's the same author that did Fire Weather,
I
right?
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
And if
love
you
that book.
Google him,
So,
he's pretty good looking too.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, his cover, no picture. All right, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. I shouldn't be saying that on YouTube, but might I have a crush?
Hey, yeah, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there. But I don't, yeah, I could say a lot of things about myself, but I will not. I will not divulge anything right now.
Never going to see this. It's fine. Okay, I have another nonfiction. Look how beautiful this cover is.
Ooh,
So this is Books and Islands in Ojibwe Country, Traveling Through the Land of My Ancestors by Louise Erdrich. So it's an older book, 2012, I think. I picked it up just past this past summer up in Tobermory. I can't remember the name of the book. Reader's Haven, I think it was. It's a very short book, and it is essentially Louise, and at the time, her like infant child. She lives in Minnesota, right? Minneapolis,
Yeah.
I believe, and has a bookstore in Minneapolis. And she travels up through Minnesota. That's the state, correct?
Yep.
My geography is terrible. Up into Canada. So there's Ontario and also Manitoba there. There's the big lake system anyways. And she is looking through the lakes and looking at the basically the paintings, rock paintings that are there throughout the lakes and stuff like this. It's beautiful. I'm doing a terrible job of describing it. Oh, and I should say though that her main goal was to go to this island. Oh, I totally meant to have this written. There is an island somewhere up there that was, he is dead now. He was an American and he owned this island and he built cottages on it and cabins that are all filled with books. Like it's his personal library. And you can go and stay there. So that's where she was going to stay and write as well and do a little research and stuff and just read, obviously, and just read. So it's a very cool story. That's part of the story as well. It's just a beautiful book, also filled with lovely sketches. I think her own sketches and stuff. It's just, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Oh.
Yeah.
Can I just mention that I sit facing my window? I'm a second story in my house, and I face a window, and I have squirrels that will be like whack-a-mole, where their heads will pop up like this all of a sudden. And one of my, because they're letting me know it's time for peanuts.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to wait. So sometimes I just get distracted by the little heads popping up. Okay.
Blame you.
This was actually referred to me by our friend Zerelda. She sent me I think it was an Instagram post about this book and that you could pre-order. So I pre-ordered it and I received it, and it is If I Must Die, Poetry and Prose by Refaat Alareer. And there's this very famous poem that's been going around as a result of the whole situation in Gaza, titled If I Must Die. It's painfully beautiful, this poem. And the back of it says, the renowned poet and literature professor Refaat Alareer was killed by an Israeli airstrike in Gaza City alongside several family members in December 2023. He was just 44 years old, but had already established a worldwide reputation that was further enhanced when, in the wake of his death, the poem that gives this book its title became a global symbol of dignified resistance. And it's basically his poetry and then selected writings that were put together, and I'm looking forward to reading it. And I've kind of browsed it, and it's just really beautiful. So thank you to Zerelda, because I don't know that this would have necessarily popped up for me. And pre-orders are always really a great thing for authors. I mean, obviously he's deceased, but I'm assuming that it is from his family. So anyway, pre-orders are great. And it's so funny whenever people say like, oh, pre-order my book. I personally feel an obligation to pre-order their book. And I've had to say to myself, you do not have to pre-order every human being's book to help them out. So now I'm being more selective about what I pre-order. But anyway, pre-ordering is very, very good.
Yeah.
For authors.
Okay, my last read book for today is a collection of short stories. Holy shit. So God Isn't Here Today by Francine Cunningham. I loved this book. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's a little creepy. There's this element of creepiness in most of the stories, a little supernatural. And then, but there's so much fucking heart. Excuse my language. Sorry.
That's okay.
There's so much heart and warmth and humanity in this book. Amazing. If you love short stories, you gotta pick it up. Really nice cover too.
Where did you come across this book?
Oh,
I
okay.
mean,
So at Eden Mills 2 years ago,
oh,
she was at
oh,
Eden Mills and she read a short story from her book, which I will tell you the name of it because you will not
I
forget the name.
remember.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. The ice cream one. Just go, Terry, go to the this table of contents. Oh, come and get your ice cream, motherfuckers. She read from that and it stuck in my head. It was a fantastic story. It stuck in my head. And for some reason, I didn't get the book that day. But this past Eden Mills, Invisible Publishing, the publisher had a table and this was sitting there. And I'm like, well, I've got to read this. Like, I remember her. And I picked it up. Oh my God, amazing. Another story is one of the stories in it called Mickey's Bar is become one of my favorite short stories because it had me in tears by the end of it. It was
Oh,
oh
I have
good.
to, I have to read, I really have to read that one. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, two things. I have a book here that is a collection of short stories. I also am getting into short stories. I did it a couple of years ago. I started to read them. I especially like linked stories because I just
Mhm.
love how they weave those stories together. But I also love straight collections of short stories as well. I also, for those who don't know, I give myself 1 year to read any books that I buy. Tara was asking me before we started to record, I have 28 books on my shelf that I have to read in 2025. And so some of these books that I just bought, I am going to read sooner. But I give myself 1 year because I always feel like if it's been sitting there for a year and I haven't picked it up, then I may have lost interest in it. Because sometimes I do that. I get really excited about something. I'm a mood reader, almost 100%. And so sometimes I just lose interest. But I am building myself a little free library for this year, and I'm all the things that I decided I didn't want to read, they're going in my little free library, and somebody else will love them. But it is a comedy of nobodies by Baron Ryan. And I came across this on TikTok. I follow Baron Ryan, and he tells the most amazing, beautiful, wickedly funny stories through, and he's a filmmaker. So he makes these little mini films and he plays the characters. And so I especially love the love stories that he tells, and he plays the female character and he plays the male character, and they are real to me. Like, I don't even think they're him playing characters. I feel like these two characters are real. He's hilarious. He'll break your heart. It's amazing. So when he wrote this book, I think last year it came out. I pre-ordered it. I feel like it came out like last June or July in 2024. And so I am going to be reading it this year. I look forward to it. And I hope that his writing, which I would think so, will be as compelling as his narratives through his film work. But I look forward to reading it and I wish him great success forever. And hopefully I will love this book as much as I love his films,
Yeah. I'm
mini
looking forward to
films.
hearing what you have to say about the book because you introduced me to him as well, and he is lovely. His videos are lovely. So,
Yeah.
okay. So I read 6 books from my shelves in January. I'm now going to share 6 books that I'm adding. So I've like not broken and like dug a little hole or anything. It's all balanced, all balanced. So the first
Yeah.
one is Black Ice by Thomas King. So this is the newest one in the Thump's Dreadful Water mystery series. So I love this series. I love Thomas King. I think I read the previous one just in
Oh,
December. Yeah, I
oh,
just
okay.
like in
Okay.
December, and then I was like, I thought that was the newest one, and then I found out that he had already had released another one that I didn't have, so I went in and bought that one during
Okay,
Christmas.
cool. All right.
Yeah. Do you have any more?
Nope, I'm done.
Okay. So it's just me sharing all the books that I have to read. Oh,
Yeah.
you're gonna like this one. I don't. You may have read this one. Motorcycles and
Mm-mm,
Sweetgrass
mm-mm.
by
No, not
Truman
yet.
Taylor. Okay.
Mhm.
So again, I've only read Cold. We both read his Cold book, right? Cold, and loved it. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I feel like this is like a classic. Oh, it even says it back here. Classic Taylor. Classic
What
Truman
is
and
it? What is it about? Because I've read Cold and also Chasing Painted Horses, but what is that one
okay.
about?
So on the back, Otter Lake is a sleepy Anishinaabe community where little happens until a mysterious and handsome stranger pulls up astride a 1953 Indian chief motorcycle and turns the place upside down. Sorry, that was my stack of books falling. Maggie, the reserve's chief, gets swept off her feet, but her teenage son, Virgil, is less than enchanted. Suspicious of the stranger's intentions, Virgil teams up with his uncle Wayne to drive the stranger from the reserve using tricks that would make the Nanabush proud. And it turns out that the raccoons are willing to lend a hand too.
Oh, sounds like crazy classic. Yeah.
Fun. Yeah.
Taylor, yeah.
This one now, I don't know what this one is about. It was a Christmas gift from my brother-in-law. Crosses in the Sky, Jean du Brebeuf, and the Destruction of Huronia by Mark Burry. So nonfiction, story of the collision of two worlds in the early 1600s. The Jesuits tried to create their own nation on the Great Lakes and turn the Huron-Wendat Confederacy into a model Jesuit state. At the center of their campaign was the missionary Jean de Brebeuf, a mystic who sought to die a martyr's death. Oh, it's a biography of this Brebeuf guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sounds interesting. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could be dry, could be interesting. Who knows? Well, I will know when I read it.
Fingers, yeah, fingers crossed.
This is one I know is going to be good. Our Green Heart, The Soul and Science of Forests by Diana Beresford Kroger. I saw her at Eden Mills. She is a force, and I can't wait to read this book. Yeah. And the new one by Robin Wall Kimmerer, The Service Berry. Again, beautiful cover. I love the covers. I love her books and her writing. So I can't wait to read that.
I was surprised by how short that one was. I was expecting another big chunker from
no,
that
just a little tiny, beautiful book.
Yeah.
And then the last one, which was also a Christmas gift from my father. But so my father every year gives me a book for Christmas. But he's not always the one. Like in the past, years ago, I would send him a list and he would go out and buy it. And over the years, that has changed, that my mom actually is the one that goes out and buys the book. So he sometimes has no idea what book he's giving me. So I send the list to her, she purchases it. So Christmas morning, or when we went over in the afternoon, I opened up the book and it is this beautiful piece. Oh. So the Memoirs of Miss Chief Eagle Testicle, Volume 2, Kent Monkman and Giselle Gordon. And I was like, oh my God, that's beautiful. I love it. And my father's like, oh, what was the name of that again? And I'm like, Miss Chief Eagle Testicle. And he's like, what? And I'm like, so
it's a long story.
I'm like, but you should read it. Yeah. Wow. That's it. There we go. Those are the ones I've added to my list.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the next time we chat, maybe not the next month, because I got all my Canada Read stuff to read too, but hopefully next time I'll have more about what I've read from my shelf versus what I'm adding to my shelf, because all of mine are pretty much adding to my shelf. But yeah.
Hopefully. Okay, that was awesome. Let us know down below in the comments what you've been reading, what you've added to your shelf, what you've taken away from your shelf. If, like Rebecca, you throw something off of your shelf, let us know. And happy reading.
So awful.